faster. I've been waiting right here all my life. Feelings you can't deny that you live in. Open up your eyes, and I just wanna sink into your crazy laughter. Come on, make me feel until the pain don't matter. Every second here makes my heart beat faster. Finally think about what I'm chasing after.
Go living, drop.